it's been a pleasure meeting you at CES this year, initially, where you expressed an interest in NADAC. Thank you for waiting that long, so it finally reached you. It's been a tough year for us to actually run the production to a point that we can actually now ship enough devices to mainly dealers, journalists, and distributors at this point. And we're hitting the first customers at this point, right. So we're happy to get as much feedback we can. So maybe I don't think we know each other very well, so maybe you can introduce yourself.
I'm Kal Rubinson. I'm a senior contributing editor at Stereophile, and that's my direct interest here. And as we've been talking about this product before and about sound in general, I have a background in neurobiology. I have an appreciation and an interest, if not a complete understanding of any of these mechanisms.
On my side, I'm head software engineering at Merging. I didn't actually really design that product. It's been designed by Claude Cellier, CEO, president of Merging, and I mostly repackage it for the audiophile market, which ended up in much more work than expected. We had a lot of conversation and refinement on the product, and we believe and hope that it's now working as a consumer would expect having, and with as less pain as possible, which you apparently just experienced, but we're getting there.
It wasn't painful. It was a little bit frustrating for a brief period, but I appreciate what you've been facing, because most products have a difficult transition from the professional market, where the users are educated and skilled in the technology, and the consumer market, where consumers are interested in the outcome and they expect a product to just, you plug it in and you turn it on and it works. And nowadays with digital technology, we have much more capability, but we have much more underlying complexity.
Exactly.
And getting something for the consumer. I mean, we've been in touch since last year, so you've been telling me how you've been working on this as make it useful for the consumer, and it's a difficult thing to do. But although it didn't work the first time I plugged it in, it worked very fast, and it's working now. So yes, no, it's not an issue. As I've just in fact finished writing a little column about how, even if you have a university education, you have some experience in technology, things are getting to the point where an average user can't possibly really understand how everything operates. It was easy when it was a tone arm with a stylus, and you knew if you wiggled it, you made a little bit of a current change in a coil, and you got sound that you made louder. Now we're dealing with lots of technology that support the sound reproduction. Networks, for example, but are not directly audio devices.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how those need to be constructed and how those need to be implemented is something that most audiophiles don't have any experience with. I don't know how changes in network operations or changes in USB ports, for example, that are ubiquitous with DACs these days. I don't know how the implementation of that technology affects the sound. Some of it does, some of it doesn't, but you can't. I don't understand.
So we're actually waiting for feedback about that very specific point, about networking versus USB, or networking as such, how it affects the communication between the other device and the DAC. Apparently the feedback about the DAC is very good at this point. Now it will take more time to know why and which pieces actually really produce these results. On a pure usability point of view, we've been amazed with the professional products like 4 years ago when we released the Horus, the father of this unit, by the flexibility and of the network and what it brings to the users.
Yes.
Even ourselves, when we've been building that unit, we realized how great it was to not having to stand up anymore to fix something, to have remote access
Yes.
with all the unit, share the unit, having the ability to have redundant unit and all this. And this is something that has been brought by the network that was not actually designed initially for. We needed a big bandwidth tube. That's why the board inside is called Ether tube.
Yes.
It was really a pure bandwidth issue. And we discovered the flexibility and the beauty of networking, and our customers too. And now that we're entering in that market, we're also wondering how, after the pain of the setup,
that's long forgotten.
that will affect or bring on top of the sound.
Yeah, well, I think that moving it into network communication as opposed to point-to-point wired setup is inevitable, because people are looking to distribute their music throughout their homes, and they're buying little appliances that will do one thing or another. And it would be advantageous, of course, to have a substrate that presumed networking rather than add-on gadgets. So that way, you could have a client somewhere else in the house. I mean, I don't know how many people are going to afford multiple NADACs at this point.
But the principle,
yeah. But time changes those things.
That's true.
But there's no reason why one couldn't have an additional appliance or render or whatever you want to call it somewhere else. And if the backbone of the system is very robust, then you can put them where you want, use as many as you want, and have access to the same resources.
So that's exactly the idea, which is for us kind of obvious as we're live with this, or almost 5 years now on the professional side. How that fits in a consumer environment is still to be. But we're so used to that now that it feels totally normal for us. That we have that unit, we plug it there, we access from here. It's shared. It's there. It's like all everywhere. So that's pending the setup issues and all these things. But that's going to be an interesting new. There's been a lot of interest by competitors as well, as how we can integrate together.
Yeah, the sound of the machine is the justification of doing this, and I've had time to
listen to
about 3 hours.
Okay.
So it's a short term, and basically what I've been doing is I've been playing files of different formats just to make sure that it does everything it's supposed to do, and apparently it does. I started out with regular plain vanilla DSD, DSD-64, and it was fine. And then I went through the ladder of PCM resolutions, and I've also done DSD-128, 256, and DXD, and it's fine. I mean, I hear the relay click. And
you hear that, and you see the color changing?
No, I can't see. I'm colorblind.
Oh,
so
that's a good one. We can make it flashing if you like.
No, it's okay. No, the important thing is, does it sound right? And I can, if I look at it, I can see it. Or if you use the app so that you see it, you can see what the resolution is. But that's the kind. That's an audiophile obsessiveness. Need to know that. The point is it's playing. And I mean, I know what I'm feeding it, so I know it's a high resolution file. Yeah. But I don't need to be constantly reminded of it while I'm playing it.
No.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
music counts.
That's right.
That's what.
And I thought it sounded strikingly good when I turned it on. I hadn't lived with it long, and I haven't played a lot of things, so I'm optimistic. That's all I can say at this point.
I wanted to ask you also, because the three, I would say, major points of this unit is initially sound quality that we kind of forget because I mean, myself, I take it for granted, but that was not necessarily granted. On the pro market, we had our reviews and feedback, and we knew since many years that it's not a too bad unit, but we didn't know at all how it would fit in the consumer. Is it something that people will like? Are we totally out of the picture or not? Well, apparently seems in good shape as well, but I was more concentrating on the two other main points being the networking and the multi-channel.
Yeah.
And this, most of our customers or dealers say, okay, that's really great, but it's mainly a stereo market. And apparently we had many people telling us, I'm going to order the 2-channel version. Then now they're ordering the 8-channel. So do you feel that the market's ready for that now, or
you know,
it's still?
I've guessed wrong so much in the past. It's very hard to be confident about it. But you know, there are people who are interested in multi-channel. I know a lot of them. But then again, I think we sort of cling together. But a lot of people I've spoken to have said that one of the reasons they're not into multi-channel is that there isn't the same sophisticated technology in consumer multi-channel equipment as there is in stereo. They've had stereo systems most of their lives, and many of these things are very sophisticated, high quality, refined pieces of equipment. And when they look at the multi-channel market, the bulk of what they see are AVRs. Now you can play high definition files on an AVR and it will work. It may not sound great, it may not sound as good as it could. It sounds pretty good. I mean, I've done this and you get full resolution, but you're dealing with, you know, a one chassis with 9 to 11 channels of amplification and all kinds of other gadgetry. But I also think it's a question of attitude, that for many audiophiles, they are not interested in one of these, in an AVR, and regardless of how good it may be. They want something where they know the device is specialized for a task. They want a DAC, they want an amplifier, they want a control unit, and they want to know that each of them is outstanding in its performance.
Designed
for that application. And then you look around and there are fewer multi-channel DACs on the market than I have fingers on one hand. So what I'm saying is that there may be a very good influence on the market because a piece of this quality in multi-channel will appeal to people who have not deigned to get their hands dirty with multi-channel before. They've heard demos and they say, yeah, it's impressive, but you know, I'm not going to go out and buy one of these boxes. I want something that'll go with my, and I don't have to name a brand, with my high-end preamp and the other things, and I want the system to work the way I expect it to. And they don't have that expectation for a mass market product. So it's just a question of attitude, probably. I mean, the quality has to be there.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's necessarily, I mean, I've been in multi-channel now for 10 years, and I had to work hard to find things that would work well.
With SACD, that's there since almost 15 years now. That's there.
But I think that it's a chicken or the egg kind of thing, that people say, well, I'm not interested in multi-channel because you don't make anything in multi-channel that appeals to me. And on the other hand, you can say, well, now there are one or two devices that could appeal, and now you should think about it.
On a neurobiology point of view or user perspective, do you think there is much more to the emotion or to the musical experience to be in multi-channel, or not really? It's just a different experience.
No, well, there is more. I mean, obviously, there's more information. If you think about it, you've got this spatial information that is available in multi-channel that you do not get from stereo. In fact, one of my aha moments many years ago, when I was playing one of the original Philips SACD players that had the ability to switch from stereo to multi-channel with the push of a button. That's hard to find these days. Usually they stop and they find the thing. And it was the original Philips 1000, the first SACD 1000 machine, right? And I was playing a recording of solo cello in multi-channel. It was lovely. It was really nice. And I had been switching back and forth. And just as I got to the end, I switched back to stereo. And he lifted the bow. I couldn't see him lifting the bow. It was an SACD. But he played the last note, lifted his bow, and the entire ambience just flew away from me, back behind the speakers. There was no longer any. I was no longer in the room with him. It was as if I was on a jet being propelled out of the space where it was being played. It was over there all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And I've done demos for other people where, you know, I play something that is multi-channel but is not surroundy. All you're getting is ambience.
Yeah.
And they really see or hear that it sounds like better stereo. That's what I've been saying. It's not something different. It's stereo, which means solid, of course. It doesn't mean two channel. But if you compare a multi-channel recording, even if it's only 3 channel, you're getting a discrete center, makes a huge difference in the sound of an orchestra, for example. We were talking before about how you use a small number of mics, or maybe 3 main mics, 2 or 3, and you have some spot mics. But in bringing it down to stereo, you lose information.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite demos is the classic Reiner Scheherazade on RCA Living Stereo. And when they brought out the SACD, they used the 3 original mic feeds, and they did some work. I mean, it was really nicely done, and it's been reissued yet again recently. And I did a demo a couple of years ago in St. Louis for a store where we played that recording in 2 channel. It's a lovely recording. It's a lot of highlighting of the violin and some other things, but beautiful recording. And then I said, now I'm going to play it in 3 channel. And what do you think is going to happen? And everybody said, oh, we're going to hear so much more information right in the center fill. And instead, they, to a man, said, what I heard was, it just got bigger. We put in a center channel. And now, well, I said, what are you doing? You're taking all that junk out of the left and right channels that was put there by remixing the center. And now you're hearing the left and right the way they should be, and the center properly. And so, of course, the sound is more lucid and open. And you know what? The store owner that we did this for, he was enthusiastic, and I don't think that these people came back and bought multi-channel in those days. But I think that the more people listen, the more some people will be seduced by it. I haven't heard anyone who has said it didn't sound better. The question is whether they were going to do something about it. And to do something about it, they have to have products that will let them do something about it.